Number 10. Bat Genie. We're gonna get classic bats out of the way right at the start. Meet Bat Genie from Detective Comics number 322 from 1963, so the dawn of the Silver Age, where things could get pretty silly. So in this story, Batman finds some magic powder and it turns him into a genie, but he's taken over by some crooks who get their hands on his lamp, and so he has to obey them. So Robin and Batgirl have to stop him. Yes, he has a lamp, it's exactly all as you're picturing it. He even gets freed because Robin uses the final wish to wish for his freedom, and then it's never mentioned again, as it should be. Number 9. AMAZO Batman. So this one is very recent at the time of this recording. The year is 2019, for those watching from the future, which will then be the present. I say this because no one checks the dates. So Batman gets his power in this story arc from the AMAZO virus, a virus that while it nullifies superpowers for those who have them, it grants those to regular humans, but of course with consequences like berserker rage and death. Batman gets ironic powers, because of course he does. No plain old super strength for him. No, he goes blind and then is granted the power of echolocation, like a bat, because he's Batman. He can also generate sonic blasts. Batman in main continuity with powers, thoughts, and feelings. Number 8. The Devastator. So there were a few Batmen from the Metal Knights who could have made this list. Red Death, Dawnbreaker, but I mean then we have to get into the nitty gritty of whether or not having a ring is really a power or if it just powers you up. It's a classic debate. With Devastator, however, the effects are so dramatic that it earned him a spot on this superpowered bat list. Hailing from Earth -1, Devastator first appeared in Dark Days The Casting #1 back in 2017. This is from the Dark Multiverse. This is a Batman who never let go of his paranoia towards Superman, and it drove him to drastic measures, and it turned out it wasn't paranoia because he was right to be worried because Superman murders Lois and goes on a killing spree, because this is the Dark Multiverse. He used a modified version of the Doomsday virus on himself, which mutated him and it infected the whole world, and left him standing the Devastator. He was recruited by the Batman Who Laughs moments before his entire world was obliterated. Metal Knights really wants you to believe that Batman could destroy the world super easily. That's his real superpower. Number 7. Vampire Batman. Yes, this counts. Being a supernatural undead creature who stalks the night, can fly, shapeshift, has super strength, hypnosis, those are powers. So Batman has been a vampire more than once, but most famously in the Elseworld trilogy dubbed the Batman and Dracula trilogy, which consists of Red Rain, Bloodstorm, and Crimson Mist, a dark world where Batman turns himself into a vampire to take on Dracula. He's the most terrifying in Crimson Mist, where he returns from being staked. This is some horrifying vampirism. We don't get enough scary vampires to balance out the hot ones. This is a good trilogy, but did you know some younger fans can't read it because the narration boxes are in cursive, and that isn't taught in all schools anymore. The more you know. Vampire Batman came to a dark conclusion, fitting of the horrific tone of those tales. Number 6. The Super Pill. This is from Injustice Gods Among Us, which is a fantastic series far better than it has any right to be, given its origin. That's not shade, just normally things that start off as tie-ins aren't this good. This series was initially started to tie into the fighting game, but you can read and enjoy it on its own. This series sees the birth of a despotic Superman after the Joker tricks him into murdering Lois, who he learns after her death was pregnant with his child. Of course, an evil Supes places him in opposition with Batman, and Batman manages to get his hands on the 5U93R, which is a super pill. Batman takes it for the advantage and it ups his strength several thousand times, and increases his durability so he can be on par with the gods among us. Low fruit and I picked it. Number 5. The Suit of Sorrows. Dubbed by some as Batman's magic batsuit. He has this armor for a bit during the resurrection of Ra's al Ghul storyline. Talia gives it to him to give him an edge over the ninja assassins, and Batman takes it cause he knows he'll need it. But, cause it's Talia, of course there's a but, the Suit of Sorrows slowly causes the wearer to become more and more violent and unstable. The trade-off? You get pain resistance and increased speed and strength. Batman kept it for a while in the Batcave, but it was eventually stolen. Number 4. BLACKROCK Symbiote. It's not Venom. Stop it. Put down that cease and desist. So this is a black gemstone that would get a supervillain named after it pre-Crisis. Now post-Crisis, it became a symbiotic alien life form. When it coats the wearer, it gives them super strength, endurance, flight, energy blasts, etc. It also makes the person feral. It's different than Venom because it gives you abilities, more abilities. Look, it's derivative and we all know it. Batman was exposed to it in Batman/Superman issues 28 to 33, this being the run from 2003. There have been multiple Batman/Superman comics. This one was really good though. When he was infected, he could also absorb and project energy, and he was on par with Superman. Number 3. Batman Man-Bat. This is from Batman Incorporated number 10, yet another Morrison comic, and features a Bruce Wayne who is pushed over the edge after the death of his son, well, one of his sons, Damian Wayne. For all the people who prioritize Damian over the other Bat kids because he's his biological son, stop it. Anyway, Damian was dead, killed brutally by his own hyper-aged clone by the way, impaled on a sword like a kebab. So to try and take down Talia, Batman injects himself with Man-Bat serum. I mean, at this point, why not just go back on Venom? Why go full LANGSTROM? This gives him super strength, begins the metamorphosis, and he can also command a legion of bats, cause why not? Number 2. Bat Chair. Batron. Batman in a chair. I'm never leaving this chair. This chair told me about 3 Jokers. So in the New 52 near the end, before Rebirth, Batman takes control of Metron's MOBIUS chair. So this anti-monitor chair allows the sitter to cross space and time and all interdimensional barriers. It was created to seek knowledge and makes the sitter omniscient. You know pretty much everything. You can predict outcomes. It produces force fields, tractor beams. Okay, it's credible, but there's something hilarious about traveling through space in a giant chair. There are some panels of Bruce in the chair and Hal sitting next to him in a Green Lantern construct chair, and I can't. Also, Hal and Bruce are real close in the New 52 despite always fighting, it's a thing. Bruce did not want to leave this chair and lose all that knowledge. He got a little overwhelmed, hence the hilarious "I'm never getting out of this chair" line. I'm paraphrasing. Many people love this and think it's menacing and epic, others find it hilarious. Number 1. SUPERBAT, not the ship. The time when Batman and Superman swapped powers because of a magical curse. This was again from the Batman/Superman comic from 2003. It was a 4-issue arc that started in issue 54. In it, Batman gets Superman's power set and he goes off the deep end. He starts stopping crimes constantly, but only at night. He starts taking the name Batman pretty seriously, meditating upside down in his cave. He also always has the laser vision kinda slightly active, so his eyes glow red. It's all quite menacing. The thing is, this curse means that the wearer won't be able to enjoy the thing they always wanted. So he gets more and more unstable and distant from friends and family. He brutally injures Catwoman and also Nightwing. He is eventually stopped by a powerless Clark and Zatanna, but admits to himself that he'll always miss the power. He powers away from Batman. He can't handle the power.
Coming in at number 10, we have Justice League War. Now, even though DC hasn't been able to get their footing when it comes to live-action superhero movies, they definitely have made some amazing films in the animated world. And Justice League War is a reimagining of how the Justice League is formed in the fight against Darkseid. This movie starts without any of the heroes knowing each other, so they do that classic thing when a bunch of heroes end up in the same place and no one knows each other. They fight. Now, in this fight, Superman really does own Batman. Everything that Batman tries to throw at him gets stuffed without even coming close to slowing Superman down. So why did I put it on this list? Well, the thing that brings the fight to the end is right before Superman is about to punch the Dark Knight into another dimension, Batman calls out Superman by his real name, Clark Kent, stopping him dead in his tracks. This is what makes Batman so incredible. In this rendition of the DC universe, he was the first person in the world to figure out who Superman was, and through his powerful intellect, he took complete control of the situation. He had that trump card in his pocket the whole fight. So one could argue that the entire time Batman looks like he's getting owned was just him studying Superman so he could learn how to fight him better. He could have called this out at any point. Also, there's a reason why I put this one at number 10. It's because he kind of does get beat up. Coming in at number 9 is Batman vs. Superman. Even though this movie was a massive stinky egg, it still had a Batman vs. Superman fight that ended with Clark Kent begging for his life and asking Batman to save his mom in the infamous Martha scene. I'm looking past how much this movie missed the mark to highlight the fact that Superman came into this fight very unprepared and Batman was the complete opposite. He had the kryptonite dust to turn Superman into basically a regular person, and he laid into him with some iron-plated right hooks. This all capped off with a kryptonite spear that left a nice slice wound in Superman's face. Imagine how this movie would have ended if their moms had different names. Coming in at number 8, we have New 52 Batman, number 36. One of my favorite things in the DC universe is when Batman is forced to take on a group of heroes, especially when it's the Justice League. It's always interesting to see how the writers will create new ways for Batman to earn his keep amongst the gods. In this issue, members of the League have been turned into crazed Joker versions of themselves, and one by one they go toe-to-toe with Batman, each one of them unable to beat the Bat. Batman is able to pull this off through a giant mech suit that he's created just for this special occasion that has a specific tactic to beat each one of these heroes. Now, when Superman shows up, the mech suit reveals that it has microscopic red suns in the fists that will drain Soup's powers while he gets his head caved in. But the Man of Steel blasts past these fists, he pulls Bats from the mech and starts flying him into space. Right when it seems like there's no hope for our caped crusader, he spits a wad of kryptonite gum into Superman's face, giving Bats the last-minute victory. This one wasn't a destruction of Superman, but he had to fight the main members of the League beforehand, so I'm gonna give him this one. And the gun was such a cool Batman trick. Coming in at number 7, we have The Dark Knight Returns. This is probably the most iconic Batman vs Superman fight, mostly because it takes place in one of the greatest comic books of all time. In this, we have Superman in a very weakened state from stopping a nuke from crashing into the United States, and Batman is in the most old geezer state we have seen him outside of Batman Beyond. Batman really pulls out all the stops in this fight. He has the classic robotic batsuit that was stolen for that garbage fire movie Batman vs Superman. He has help from his newest Robin sidekick. He blasts Superman with an entire city worth of electricity, and he has Green Arrow hit Superman with a special kryptonite dust that took millions of dollars to make. This leaves Superman human, with Batman busting his face before he fakes his own death. Now, if we go back and watch this fight, yes, Superman is holding back the whole time, so it's hard to say Batman destroys him, but this had to be part of Batman's plan. He knew Clark would pull his punches against an old man and an old friend, thus leaving him vulnerable to the kryptonite dust attack. And in the end, Batman wasn't looking to kill Superman, he just wanted to send a message, which he definitely did. Coming in at number 6, we have Armageddon 2001. Let's mess around with timelines a little. Armageddon 2001 is an alternate future where Supes has gone rogue and starts killing off heroes left, right, and center, along with destroying any military defense in the world that might fight against him. This means that the president has one guy to turn to, and it's good old Batman. Batman again uses a superpowered suit, but this time he has kryptonite on hand from the get-go and really beats down Superman until he's literally green from kryptonite poisoning. Coming in at number 5, we have Injustice, an alternate universe fighting game where DC Universe characters throw down in matchups that don't make any sense, but it's still cool as hell. Yeah, sign me up. Not only are these games made by NetherRealm Studios, the same people who make the fantastic Mortal Kombat games, but the games actually have some of the best story modes in a fighting game ever. The game takes place in an alternate universe where Superman has gone rogue after Lois Lane is killed by the Joker. This causes him to become a tyrant, which eventually leads to a clash between him and Batman, where Batman whoops his butt and then locks him away in a Red Sun prison. Coming in at number 4, we have the Tower of Babel. Once again, breaking into the world of Batman, playing out how he would beat down every member of the League. In this wonderful comic, these contingency plans for taking out separate members of the League get into the wrong hands. And the plan to take out Superman is a secret new kryptonite that Batman has created. The crazy thing is about this new kryptonite, it doesn't make Superman weaker, it actually makes him stronger. This new kryptonite that Batman has cooked up makes Superman's skin translucent. This makes his ability to absorb solar energy increase to the point where Superman can no longer control his powers and becomes a threat to everyone around him. Eventually, this leads to Superman going into hiding. Now, this isn't a straight up fight, but Batman's plan worked flawlessly and he for sure destroyed Superman. Coming in at number 3, we have Superman Red Sun, a one-off comic that runs with the idea of what if Superman landed in the Soviet Union instead of America. This comic is amazing, and one of the best parts is when Russian Batman puts a beatdown on Superman. He lures Superman into a trap that has him surrounded by red sun lights and then hits him with everything in the Krav Maga handbook. Superman actually almost dies in this fight, but then Wonder Woman swoops in to save the Blue Boy Scout from an early death, and then Batman actually commits suicide to avoid being caught. This would have probably been number 1 on the list if Batman didn't get help from Lex Luthor to pull off this plan. Coming in at number 2, we have The Dark Knight Strikes Again. This is the follow-up comic to the famous Dark Knight Returns, and I have to say, it's not as good, but it can be hard to follow up one of the best comics ever written. Well, in this comic, it has gone out that the Bat is back, and Superman goes to have a nice little chit-chat with him. Also, if you don't know, in this universe, Batman, along with a lot of the other heroes, are very old, and Superman and Batman aren't anywhere close to friends anymore. So when Superman shows up at the Batcave, Batman unloads a wagon of whooping on him. He has a series of devices set up in the cave that are just there to take down Superman. Flash and Green Arrow are both there to give Batman a helping hand at putting Superman down, and this is all topped off with one of the coolest Superman beating tools ever, kryptonite gauntlets. This entire fight leaves Superman a bloody mess. And coming in at the number 1 spot is Injustice 2. So basically the same stuff is going on as Injustice 1, but this time we have even more heroes and villains, and Brainiac gets involved. Now, I will say that there are 2 endings to this game. One of them has Superman win and merge with Brainiac to become one of the most powerful beings in the universe, and he makes Batman his slave. But I put this as number 1 because if you make the choice to have Batman win, then Superman is depowered and Batman leaves him locked away in the Phantom Zone with no powers. Pretty much the biggest way you can destroy Superman.
Number 10, Yellow Lantern Batman. Batman is just getting all of the rings, so watch out. Also, the fear ring seems appropriate. During the Emotion Spectrum arc in the War of Light, recruitment rings were sent out, and when the Sinestro Corps was recruiting, one of them found its way over to Batman, and it told him that he had the ability to instill great fear. Who else would have loved to see Yellow Lantern Batman at that time fight Hal, especially after his whole "you can't wield this ring" and then he put it on, there was too much grief and it was a whole thing? Hal, sit down. However, Batman fights off the ring. He's invoking enough fear on his own, thank you very much. We kinda get that confrontation I was talking about in the Forever Evil arc, but that's later in the New 52. It was revealed that Batman had gotten his hands on a Yellow Lantern ring and somehow managed to stop it from moving on to another user. Batman would don this ring to fight Green Lantern's evil crime syndicate doppelganger Power Ring, and he had no problem wielding it, so take that, Hal. Well, really, take that, Jeff Johns. Number 9. Batman on Venom. Batman was once on the very same drug that is perpetually coursing through Bane's veins, albeit it was a more prototypical version of it. After failing to save a small child from drowning, Batman was questioning if he physically had what it took to be an effective superhero. So when he was offered a new designer drug that would enhance his strength, he actually jumped at the offer and started taking it. The problem? It was warping his mind, making him cruel but also highly suggestible. The drug was meant to be used to create really obedient super soldiers. For the time he was on it, his power levels were intensely increased, and he was able to take a lot more punishment. Batman would lock himself in the Batcave for a month to wean himself off the drug. Well, not wean, intense cold turkey himself off the drug. This after he let some villains escape rather than stop them because they threw a bag of venom at him. It was a pretty low moment, and he knew it. Number 8. The Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. We're talking the classic Zur-En-Arrh here, not the revamped Grant Morrison one that is just a psychotic Bruce post-hypnotic suggestion. So in the 1958 story, Batman, the Superman of Planet X, Batman has to go with the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh back to his planet, Zur-En-Arrh. And when Batman gets there, he has Superman-like powers because of the change in atmosphere and sun, just like Clark has on Earth. Batman is able to use his powers to help Klano, the scientist, and the Batman of that world to defeat an army of invading robots. Not bad for a day's work. Number 7. Genie Batman. Batman once got the powers of a genie during the Silver Age, but also the weaknesses. Phenomenal cosmic power, itty bitty living space, and also a master, because of course he fell into the hands of criminals. And he had to do their bidding. He appeared in Detective Comics number 322 in 1963. He gets turned into a genie by magic powder. Robin and Batgirl need to track him down. This is Betty Kane Batgirl pre-Barbara Gordon, back in the Batman and Robin aren't gay lovers period, where it was look, Batwoman and Batgirl exist. Robin is able to stow away inside the criminal's car and steal their magic Batman genie lamp, and you guessed it, he uses the last wish to wish for his freedom. Like, does the genie cry if you don't do that? Probably. Number 6. God Trinity Batman. After the 52 arc, which was a huge success but focused on, well, the C-list and some of the B-list and, let's be honest, also the D-list, DC decided to bring the Trinity back into focus. This was because they had taken a year off after Infinite Crisis, which had led into 52. So this arc was to showcase that the Trinity were essential to the functioning of the DC universe, and at one point in the story they were removed, and their proteges had to go get them. Batman and the rest of the Trinity were transformed into tarot-style godlike archetypes, so of course here we have a Bat God and key player in the fabric of the universe. This arc was a lot of a lot. If you read it, let me know how you feel about it. Number 5. Batman KIRK Langstrom. So this Batman is not Bruce Wayne. No, he is KIRK Langstrom from the Gods and Monsters universe. He is a vampire version of Batman who accidentally turned himself into one while running experiments on blood involving vampire bats in order to try and find a cure for lymphoma. Well, it went wrong, as these things often do, and now he must drink to survive. He was heading down a dark path until he met up with this world's Superman, who helped him find a way to curb his darker impulses. KIRK has all the powers being a vampire affords, and while he's quite brutal to his criminal element, he feeds off of them. That's ice cold. I feel like people wouldn't stand for an actual vampire vigilante. Just look what happened to the Confessor. Number 4. Man-Bat Batman. Speaking of KIRK Langstrom moves us to number 4. So KIRK Langstrom in the DC mainverse goes by the alias Man-Bat after he injected himself with a serum. After this, he transformed into a giant bat-like creature. He was initially trying to find a way to extend a bat's sonar vision to humans, because, well, why not? So Batman ended up using his Man-Bat transformation serum after the death of his son Damian at the hands of the Heretic, aka his own clone. Yes, Damian was killed, skewered by a hyper-aged clone version of himself, who was also jealous of him. Batman went a bit off the deep end, you know, another dead Robin and all of that. So he took to the skies with this serum, because he needed a boost, but also apparently wanted that boost to be on brand. Number 3. Black Lantern Batman. Okay, so yes, it turned out this wasn't actually Batman, but people didn't know that at the time. It's actually all kind of really anticlimactic if you read it later on. So Batman was killed at the end of Final Crisis by Darkseid's Omega Beams. So during the Blackest Night event, when Black Hand was raising the dead via Black Lantern rings, Batman's corpse, whose skull Black Hand had also licked, was resurrected. And so the League had to go up against a horrific zombified version of their friend and teammate. That would be quite the stressful battle, grief still fresh, fighting a zombie, sad times. But it wasn't him! He was traveling his way back through time to get back to the present as Pirate Batman and Pilgrim Batman and other things. The return of Bruce Wayne. Number 2. Vampire Batman. Again, a different one. This is the vampire Batman who is Bruce Wayne from the now famed Batman Dracula trilogy, wherein Batman becomes a vampire to take on Dracula and then must contend with a life of bloodlust. It's dark, gothic, and the Batman depictions are horrifying. He's nightmare fuel. He has all your usual vampire traits and is up here higher because he's actually Bruce Wayne, and that earns you some points. Sorry, Kirk. Batman has some safeguards in place for himself should he ever give in to his bloodlust, which the Joker in this universe is always tempting him to do. Also, Selina is a weircat. Meow. You get all 3 of these collected together now in trade. It's worth it in my opinion. This Batman is iconic. This Batman is coming to us from Earth 43, a scary Earth indeed, and not even the dark multiverse, cause that didn't exist yet. And finally, in at number 1, Batman gets Superman's powers, SUPERBAT. So during the Batman-Superman team-up comic, which began in 2003, an arc beginning in issue 53 was launched, wherein after encountering Banshee and a magic spell, Batman and Superman's abilities were switched. Batman was able to learn to control Superman's abilities fairly quickly. However, they also fairly quickly fed into his negative personality traits. Already driven, he became obsessed, fighting crime constantly, literally chasing night across the globe. He would become increasingly brutal and disconnected, eventually seriously injuring Dick, an action that horrified Alfred. It was up to Superman and Zatanna to bring him down. Batman would later admit that he had gone too far, but at the same time note to himself that he would miss having those powers. Also, it seems like Superman doesn't need to sleep, because Bruce was not sleeping. He was meditating, hanging upside down in the Batcave. Because he could.
And at number 10, the HELLBAT armor. Back in Batman and Robin issue 33 to issue 37, volume 2 of the New 52, Batman donned something called the HELLBAT armor. It was a suit forged by the Justice League but designed and built by Bruce Wayne in order to upgrade his strength significantly. Made of a shifting nanokinetic metallic composition, it has a built-in cloaking feature that makes Batman entirely invisible. Its cape can turn into wings, allowing him to fly, he can project powerful blasts of energy, drain others of energy, and much more. While it gives him a mega power boost, it does drain his metabolism and could potentially kill him if he wears the suit too much. Up next, number 9, Night Terrors. A fear-powered Batman? Well, that was a thing in 2011 when the Caped Crusader was exposed to a brand new strain of fear toxin that gave him superhuman strength and an insatiable need for violence. Fun. Mixed with Venom, this new fear toxin is exposed to Arkham Asylum's inmates, which include a slew of Batman's rogue gallery. So they rioted. It took place in Batman the Dark Knight in a story titled Night Terrors. Batman has to inject himself with it in order to stop the outbreak, and in the aftermath he ends up lashing out at Superman before the toxins wear out. Superman is forced to knock him unconscious in order to get him to chill the f*** out. Up next, number 8, DAWNBREAKER Batman. The recent Dark Knight's Metal event introduces to a slew of evil alternate versions of Batman, some of which were the amalgamation of Batman and another Justice League member. Case in point, the Dawnbreaker, a Bruce Wayne who hails from Earth -32 of the Dark Multiverse. His origin story has a young Bruce discovering a Green Lantern ring when his parents are gunned down in the alleyway. After Joe Chill shoots his parents, Bruce loses his shit and is filled with rage, which is so strong that it catches the attention of a Green Lantern ring, sensing his willpower. It enters his possession and Bruce overpowers its restrictions, making him a Green Lantern capable of murder. So what does he do? Well, he kills Joe Chill, and then goes on to wipe out all of the rest of the Green Lantern Corps. Yikes. Up next, number 7, the Devastator. This one is a product of the same story arc, and this time it is a Batman who mimics Doomsday. You know, the fella who managed to punch Superman into a Kryptonian coma that looked like death but psych, wasn't really. Oh jeez. Anywho, this is the Devastator. He comes from Earth -1, and he is the product of a Batman who was forced to take care of a berserk evil Superman. Now on Earth -1, Superman lost it and went on a killing rampage, murdering the Justice League, killing Lois Lane, and even completely obliterating Metropolis. Batman was the last hero remaining, and with a kryptonite spear in tow, his mission was to stop the nearly invincible Man of Steel. Superman was no easy match though. Using his heat vision, he chopped off Batman's arm, the one holding the spear, and then mocked him for it. But this is Batman that we were talking about. He always has a backup plan, and his backup plan this time? The Doomsday virus. Batman injects himself and becomes the Devastator, looking like he's Doomsday's brother or son or distant Rocky relative. He gains the monster's regenerative abilities and strength and has a nifty little trick up his sleeve, or down his throat rather. It's called Kryptonite Breath. It's what brings Superman to his untimely end. In at 6, Man-Bat Batman. Man-Bat has been a foe of the Cape Crusaders since Detective Comics issue 400 in 1970. Man-Bat is actually a dude named KIRK who is a zoologist who developed an extract that gave humans a bat's sonar sense. KIRK tested it on himself and learned the downside to the serum was that it turns you into a humanoid bat creature. Oh, dang. In Batman Incorporated from 2013, Bruce ends up becoming a Man-Bat himself. After the death of his son Damian, Bruce's mental health was not in the best shape, and he took a drastic measure to defeat Leviathan and his ex Talia al Ghul. He injects himself with a Man-Bat serum and, with an army of bats at his side, takes on all of Talia's lackeys in an absolute rage. It gave him the ability to lead those bats of his to fly. It gave him some intense looking claws, and even echolocation abilities, although the serum does make one highly sensitive to extremely loud noises and bright lights. Moving on to number 5, The Drowned. Bryce Wayne is yet another product of the Dark Knight's Metal event. Hailing from the Dark Multiverse on Earth -11, Bryce is a female version of Bruce Wayne who was in a relationship with the male version of Selina Kyle, Sylvester Kyle. When Kyle is killed by metahumans, Bryce is enraged and completely loses it. In retaliation, she goes on a killing spree, systematically murdering any and all metahumans that she can find. 18 months after her rampage, Aquawoman, the female Aquaman, re-emerges from a self-imposed exile and ends up trying to make a truce with Bryce. Bryce does not trust her though, and Atlantis and the surface world engage in conflict. Bryce and the surface win, with Bryce killing Aquawoman with her own trident. The Atlanteans aren't too happy about this though, so they swallow Gotham City into the entire ocean as retaliation. So Bryce steps up her game. She gives herself biochemical augmentations via surgery, along with the ability to breathe underwater, heal faster, she bolsters her muscle, skeletal, and body tissue density, and ends up giving herself a darker version of hydrokinesis that lets her corrupt and command her foes, making them into ravenous sea beasts instead. Up next at 4, White Lantern Batman. In 2010's Brightest Day story arc, Batman finds himself acquiring a white power ring of life after Deadman, the supernatural hero, is tasked with delivering the ring to a person who can serve as the protector of Earth. Now he firmly believes that person is Batman. Spoilers, he's wrong. And while Bruce is like, I don't know man, Deadman forces it onto him. This ring gives Bruce a whole lot of powerful abilities. Now for starters, he learns the meaning of life, can see how everything in the world is connected, and the entity now speaks through him. Less of the there. It's a brief moment of power and Batman gives it up almost immediately. In at number 3, Red Death Batman. Hailing from the Dark Multiverse yet again, and this time from Earth -52, we have the Red Death, a version of Bruce Wayne that has been amalgamated with the Flash. Now the story behind this one is a little close to home for our prime Earth Batman. After years of fighting crime in Gotham, Earth -52 Batman has the terrible luck of losing all of his Robin sidekicks on the job. He becomes more extreme, putting more pressure on himself to stop crimes before they occur, hating himself for not being fast enough. Pushed to a breaking point, he seeks out the Flash and wants to use his access to the Speed Force, believing that he, Batman, is better suited to use it than the Scarlet Speedster is. Now when the Flash doesn't agree, Bruce kills off everyone in Flash's rogue gallery, steals their weapons, and then uses them against the Flash in a battle for his powers. He manages to defeat him, combines his Batmobile with the Cosmic Treadmill, and then drives it, and them, into the Speed Force, which amalgamates and merges the two of them. Forced to share a body with the Flash's consciousness, he now dons a new red suit, calling himself the Red Death, as he uses his Speed Force powers to kill off all of his own villains. Doesn't want another dead Robin. I mean, really, who does? Let's be honest. And at number 2, the AMAZO virus Batman. In Justice League Volume 2, Issue 38, Batman is exposed to something called the AMAZO virus. The virus is a synthetic plague created by Lex Luthor that is capable of mimicking metahuman abilities through the use of an artificial enzyme. Luthor intended to use it to suppress metahuman abilities, specifically targeting metahuman criminals, but as you can tell, things got a little out of control. The downside of this virus is that if you get it, sure, you get powers, but you also become unstable and eventually eventually die, which is definitely not fun. Batman contracts the virus and gains the abilities of Daredevil. Oh wait, sorry, a bat. He becomes blind and he can see via echolocation. But aside from that, he learns another cool trick. He can unleash a force blast using sound vibrations that can knock people out. Eventually Lex develops a cure using Superman's blood, Batman is healed, and all is well again. Finally, in at number 1, the Mobius Chair Batman. Or Batman, the God of Knowledge. In the New 52, Batman becomes the God of Knowledge when he gets his mitts on the Mobius Chair, a powerful throne that gave him the ability to teleport across space and time, and near limitless access to information stored within the chair. He could read people's thoughts and even stop people from committing crimes before they did them. He managed to pretty much erase all crime in Gotham while he was in it, but the power began to corrupt him, and since he no longer needed to fulfill any human desires or needs, he became consumed by the chair, never leaving it, up until Hal Jordan gave him his Green Lantern ring in order to give him the willpower to stand up and step away. Sometimes you just gotta get up out of that chair.